Hey there, my name is Joe Keyport, and you're listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. This week, I talked to Eric Johnson, better known as Smellkin Ernesto, about his new music. Songwriter recently put out 2 singles in the month of March, Solo Dímelo and How Much Longer, and was featured on an episode of Voices in the Back, a program dedicated to showcasing artists of color here in the Twin Cities. I personally learned about the project in 2019 when the now defunct Heavy Metal Records released his EP Cambios, which featured lyrics that blended Spanish and English together with lo-fi lounge rock and Ernesto's blend of just riffs. During the interview, we talked about his beginnings with music, his love of recording, as well as being a Colombian adoptee raised in Minnesota. It's Eric Johnson, better known as Smellkin Ernesto, right here on the Ear Coffee Podcast. Eric, how's it going here this evening?
Doing well. Yes, can't complain.
Yeah. We're recording this a little later in the evening because you get to work from home, right? And you get to work the odd hours.
Yes, actually, but I guess Ear Coffee will get an exclusive on my life. My job became another casualty of the pandemic.
Oh no!
This last Friday.
Oh no! Yeah. So sorry to ask you about that then.
No, don't be at all. It's actually been a huge blessing in disguise, and
okay.
Luckily, I will be just fine.
Okay,
it's actually kind of gonna be a vacation now, which is
nice.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, what were you doing before that now makes it a blessing in disguise?
Well, I mean, it was purely just to pay bills.
Gotcha.
Something I did not enjoy, but could certainly tolerate and do well. And it paid quite well too, so that's unfortunate. Yeah. But again, I'll be fine. And this is actually great. I've been feeling a lot more creative lately, so this was actually, I was pretty excited in a way.
Nice.
Oh, thank God I do not have to go into work on Monday. And now also I can really have myself a little writing retreat with the spring coming up here. So
perfect. Yeah, I get a little window that the listeners don't get, seeing into your kind of little studio Bay area there. So
this is a HQ right here.
Nice.
My weird skinny long room. Mm-hmm.
So you do a lot of the home recording for the Smellkin Ernesto stuff, right?
Everything. Yeah. I went to school for audio engineering. So I mean, that's my background on that. I've been self-recording and producing music since I was like 14 or 15, extremely crudely in the beginning, but
nice.
It's long running been the passion ever since I, was able to figure out how to do it.
Nice. Well, then take me back to 14, 15, wanting to record music. We always like to kind of get that baseline when people started getting interested in music here on the podcast. So talk to me about, when you started getting interested in playing music and writing music and recording music.
I mean, I've always loved music quite a bit, but I was one of those people whose parents didn't really have great taste in music, and it's not like something that they were super excited about either.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I feel like though my earliest memories of like really falling in love with music though, was like when I would be, I don't know, maybe like 4 years old, like 4 or 5 years old. And I remember on trips to my grandparents, we had Beatles Anthology 1.
Oh, nice.
And I remember like listening to Ed Sullivan and all the early demos and some live recordings and stuff. And those were really, really powerful to me at that time. But I didn't start actually playing music kind of in the world or realm that I do today until I was like 12. I think I was 12 or 13 when I started electric guitar. I had played like trumpet when I was 10 and dabbled with piano a little bit. I'm
like the middle school band thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I'd been in choir and stuff too for a long time, but I was like 12 when I picked up guitar, And then by like age 13, me and some friends already had a little band and stuff like that, and we were doing Green Day covers and things like that. But then writing some really awful songs together too.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course, you know.
A few good ones, but
Yeah. So so of your little friend group, you know, making music together, were you the one who started like maybe we should start recording this, or got the bug for it?
yeah, definitely. So like my bass player, who was actually, there was a kind of a core of three of us that remained in a band together from like age 13 to high school. And our bass player, he kind of had more of the equipment and stuff, and that was when it really kind of sparked an interest to me. I mean,
Mhm.
I didn't have Mac computers growing up either, so, and their family did, so he introduced me to GarageBand, and I really took a shine to it. And then I started to get my own really cheap equipment
Mhm.
for like my home PC.
Yeah.
And man, back in those days too, I mean, that was like early 2000s or so. And like when I was just on such a shoestring budget
Mhm.
for that, it was, oh my God, it was so crappy. And, but it was fun
Yeah.
too. I was figuring it out, but yeah. And then once I got that, then we would kind of do it at my place too, if we were able to. And yeah, I mean, that was I just kept saving up and getting more equipment, and that was that was that boy, what am I getting at here? No looking back after that
Yeah,
is what I meant to say.
like you talk about that shoestring budget. I was thinking about, you know, in high school when my buddies and I had a band, and you know, you have the off brand stuff. Thankfully, they were the ones who were investing in all the gear. But you know, you have
Yeah.
the like the weird like Sterling audio microphone that has like, it's all mid range, but it's so cool to be able to like record it and hear it back for the first time, and it sounds like a rock record despite it not when you listen back to it, you know,
Yeah, right.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it was great, a lot of fun.
yeah. So you were playing in bands at high school. Did those friends come with you when you came to the cities, or to start playing now, or was there like a break between, you know, playing in the high school band to making music now?
No, it didn't really stop for me. I'd always been hopeful that they would have come down to the city here, but no, they both went their own
Mm-hmm.
completely separate ways for school, and I'm my own. But I had other friends, older friends from my hometown that were down here and kind of playing
Mm-hmm.
around and stuff too. So I definitely always had, people within arm's length. I moved here in 2010 to
Okay.
the actual city. So I mean, 2010 to 2013, 14. I mean, I was always just kind of dinking around with other friends
Mm-hmm.
and stuff within the scene and friend group and stuff like that. There's always someone to play with.
Mm-hmm. And you said we were talking about this off mic technically. You're talking about how you came here to do, or you went to school for audio engineering, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I graduated like 2013. Didn't really. I had some jobs within like the studio world for a little bit, but it's really, I don't know. I mean, I needed to eat and pay
Mm-hmm.
bills and stuff too, which
Yeah.
suck. And like when you're young, like in your early 20s, I mean, the pathway to that kind of career path is just a lot of low paid or
Mm-hmm.
more often than not unpaid stuff too. Unfortunately, I just wasn't in the seat of privilege to go down that route as I needed to live first. So yeah, then, but I did work in like music instrument retail for a really long time, so I was kind of adjacent
Mm-hmm.
for a while, and that actually helped me get a ton of my equipment. I mean, I wouldn't have all the stuff I have today without those jobs. So
Yeah.
that was nice, and I could kind of keep it on the back burner. But I think like more so in the end, I did realize that I would much rather produce and perform is kind of
Mm-hmm.
the real dream.
So then when did, you know, Smellkin or Ernesto kind of become the project you wanted to throw yourself behind? Because you put out your first record, which was Simply Smellkin in 2017, and you put out it's Cambios. I'm butchering.
Cambios.
Okay. I was like listening to the songs, trying to like make sure I don't at least butcher most of the pronunciation,
Sure.
but and you put that out in 2019. When did you decide to throw yourself behind this project?
So right before Smellkin, I was in a band where most of us were trying to make something of it.
Yeah.
Which that was part of why that didn't work out. But yeah, I was in this band called Business Cash for a while, and we had some shows. We gigged decently for like a year. Did some recordings and stuff too. There's like 4 of us in the group. We all wrote, and it was fun. I mean, we would like switch up instruments mid set and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a lot of fun playing with those guys, but ended up not working out. And after that, I was kind of miffed about that because I felt like we did have a lot of potential. We had a lot of talent there, but just I think it was too many chefs in the kitchen kind of thing as well too. And I think we were all really, really strongly opinionated or could be on, this is so-and-so song and this was that, we didn't ever kind of come together as one like Voltron like we needed to. So after that, I was a little frustrated with that. And I think I also just kind of realized like I have never liked authority figures when it does come to like creative stuff too. I'm happy and love to work with others, but do I prefer to work alone? Yeah, I do.
It's just that people are nice, but I don't play well with others from time to time when it comes to projects. Yeah, no, I feel you wholeheartedly. Was that?
It's kind of like it was a big thing too of like, why have someone, if I can do it myself, why don't I just do it?
Yeah.
It's frustrating to be on the same kind of work ethic level too. And, I still am, of course, very, very serious about this. I mean, I hope this pans out to a good majority, if not all of my income at some point. But, so yeah, it was just kind of really about finally investing in myself. But the other thing too, is that I don't think stuff that I'd like written with those bands and stuff wasn't entirely for me either. And I hadn't really explored my own voice or really made myself or really put myself out there and made myself vulnerable before with my writing and my work. So that was also a huge intention behind Smellkin as well.
Yeah, what was that those other bands? What were those kind of bands? Were they like indie or punk bands? Because Smellkin Ernesto.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, we would call them just like indie rock. Like a lot of our kind of influence was stuff like, like Guided by Voices, maybe like a little Sloan, kind of like bar rock, stuff like that, kind of roots rock. We're all kind of into like Dr. Dog style vibes at that point. Like 2010 to like 2014. The kind of retro rock and roll sounding stuff is what that was really about. Big Star, huge. We were all huge fans of stuff like that.
Gotcha. Because I was wondering where that kind of where you got to the sound that is Smellkin. Because it's like this lo-fi, loungy kind of rock, but with just like riffs, which is always a great like you're vibing, and then suddenly there's just a guitar solo, and I'm like, holy shit, where'd this come from? It's just great.
Yeah.
So you come through and you got Smellkin together. Were you originally performing as a solo act, or did you have a live band?
So that was like the big thing with it, and I was very determined. I was very set that this will be the passion and for real project, but it was so much of just figuring it out too. Excuse me. Yeah, in the beginning, so my discography is kind of weird in that I started with like a pretty ambitious full LP,
Mhm.
and then I've just gone down smaller and smaller. Now, basically at this point, then EP and now
Singles,
singles.
yeah.
But yeah, I started off with a full LP, and it was really just testing the waters because, yeah, I didn't know at that time if I was going to have a backing band or not. Like, there was a time where I was thinking about, um, maybe actually just getting some sort of actual analog groove sampling device. I was like, maybe I'll just run straight from
Mhm.
a box, and then I can have, guitar, maybe even bass on stage or some keys if I want to play a little bit. But I don't know. It ended up just being too much, too much logistics, I think. And also, I was just like, man, I do miss playing with people, and there is a lot to be said about that as well. And it is just, I think it's better. If I was gonna truly be by myself, I feel like I would need to be, some crazy, jumping around person, which is not really my stilo on stage. It can be sometimes,
Yeah.
but I don't think I could do that all the time. So yeah, I kind of some of it was a little electronic-y,
Mhm.
but I did make sure that there's a lot of, full band stuff that could be done with a live group as well. And then it wasn't until after that debut album that I actually just put out a Craigslist ad. So I had my drummer, his name is Wade. He's been in he was in the bands I was talking about earlier.
Mhm.
But he still plays with this one group. I don't know if you've heard of them, Daniel and the Real Feels. They
Familiar, but yeah.
yeah, if you listen to their records or songs, you would probably recognize them. I feel like their real kind of heyday here when they were playing more regularly was probably like 2015 through
Mhm.
2017 a little bit, which worked out well for Wade too because then he had more time for me. But
Yeah.
I put out a Craigslist ad and got a lot of responses. Those were, God, I wish I would have kept some of them. Those were really funny. And I think I did make the ad like a little goofy and weird too, kind of in an attempt to weed out certain folks as well too. But yeah, we got a bass player and a guitar player, and the bass player, like, I was kind of lukewarm on, but like seemed really ready to go,
Mhm.
and like on the same page, and like he kind of told me his background and like what kind of music he likes, and I was playing demos, and then I was playing like stuff that I was listening to at the time, and he's like, I'm like, like, if you really don't like this, like,
We
please, let's not waste each other's time.
yeah.
No, 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 I'm totally good. And like he seemed like he was good. And then it was like 3 weeks before we got our first gig. And it was like 3 weeks before, and he's like, "Yeah, sorry, I
I'm
don't
not
like
not
it.
feeling this.
I'm out."
Just like,
And so
bro.
yeah, I know it sucked, but we ended up finding someone else in that time, and this guy named Sean, still in the band
Mhm.
today, is just an absolute professional and workhorse. And yeah, we were ready to go for the first show, and it was crazy how
Mhm.
well that worked out. I mean, they're both my friends now for sure. Sam is my guy on guitar, and then Sean on bass, and then my old hometown friend Wade on drums. But yeah, it really worked out. So
Nice.
I
I
would recommend. You'll probably get some crazies in there, but it might really work out.
Yeah. I've heard some Craigslist horror stories, but so the two bands I've talked to about that, they've always seemed to have come out positively, which is a good thing.
Cool. I
Yeah.
like to hear that. Good.
So something that struck me about your music, especially listening to Cambios, which is not the case
Mhm.
on, and then the new singles, which wasn't the case on your first record, was that you sing songs in both English and Spanish. And
Mhm.
I was talking to Jeremy Warden, who formerly of Heavy Metal, which pour one out for Heavy Metal. Love that label.
All right.
We both kind of were talking about how cool it was to hear that. So talk to me about that decision, because it wasn't really on your first record, if I remember correctly, but that follow-up EP that you put out in 2019, it was there. What was that
Mhm.
that decision like to put that in music?
A lot of big life changes,
Mm,
and recognizing some other things, I think, like, musically as well, but mainly like the big life changes. So I'm a transracial international adoptee. That just means I was adopted by a white family from a different country other
mhm,
than America. I was adopted from Bogota, Colombia, when I was a baby, and then I grew up in rural West Central Minnesota. So a big part of the Smellkin thing too is just expressing and grappling with like the lifelong identity crisis that I pretty much, had from
mhm.
straight out the gates.
Yeah.
um, not like not something I chose to have happen. But yeah, it's been a huge part of my life and who I am. And it wasn't until boy, I think it was 2018 is when I actually found my biological family again. Yes, it would be 2018, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was in reunion with my biological family, and I mean, even before that, kind of the year leading up to it, and especially with Smelkin as well too. I mean, such a huge part about the project was uh something to reclaim my lost identity as well too, my Latinidad. And that had just been growing, and I mean, since like moving here, I would say
Mhm,
in the last decade, I mean, that's really changed a lot for me too. But especially around like 2016 and 17, I started getting involved. There's so many Colombiano adoptees in this city, and and they even pale in comparison to like how many South Korean adoptees are in this
mhm,
state as well too. Minnesota is a huge hotbed for us. So I was involved in those communities a lot. I did like there's like a book project I was a part of, and like we all do get-togethers and stuff like that too. So that was really extremely helpful and good for me, mentally as well
mhm,
too. And then yeah, finding a family in 2018, really changed that a lot. And that was also when I like, I had to, okay, I have to learn Spanish now.
okay,
Cuz like none of my biological family speaks English.
okay,
So yeah, I mean, I now had to deal with that language barrier as well too. So that was also the decision. I mean, because one, I'd been learning and speaking it so much more. And then two, I mean, I listened to a ton of Spanish speaking music as well too. And I don't know, it hits different. I love music in a ton of different foreign languages. I mean, I've been listening to like a lot of Japanese stuff lately, but um I don't know why it sucks in America that international music gets such a bad rap, because there's like so much good stuff out there that we're all missing out on. Um, so that was kind of the decision of that, to go the more bilingual route as well too, as part of one,
mhm,
just it being ever more present in my life all the time now, and two, again, another
mhm,
kind of reclamation of my identity. And then also, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I think too. I want to hear more international music. Breaking charts in America and stuff like that too. There's a lot of cool stuff to give and bring out into the world with bilingual music
mhm.
as well, not just Spanish.
Yeah. Were you because the that like identity crisis? I feel like maybe a strong word for the situation as someone who hasn't lived that life, but that kind of struggle with your identity um comes really on the forefront of Simply Smelkin. Like, I mean, literally that first track is a spoken word
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Hmm.
Did you grow up, did you learn Spanish growing up, or was it uh just once you got connected with your biological family that kind of that more part of your identity became prevalent?
Yeah, growing up, no, I did not learn it. I grew up very comfortably middle class,
Mhm.
but unfortunately, I would say one of the missteps my parents took was that, I mean, we never were really shown or taught anything. I mean, I grew up with an older adoptive sister from Brazil. She
Mhm.
was adopted from. We were both adopted as infants, So we grew up together, but our parents never, they never really made a point to teach us about, where we actually came from that much as
Hmm.
well too, other than just like, this is the city, that's where it is.
Yeah.
Cool, huh? Like, so no, I didn't have that. But in middle school, I mean, I think I had my first Spanish class in like middle school.
Okay.
And then I did do 2 years of it in high school, and I was pretty good at it. Like, just it's so funny thinking back on that now. But yeah, for those classes in that school, I did quite well. But I'd always kind of tried to keep up with it just because, I mean, I know it, I always knew at the end of the day, well, I mean, I am Latino.
Hmm. Yeah.
I can't help that where I was born. And I've always wanted to really buckle down and try and learn it. But it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still not fluent.
Hmm.
It's much better, but yeah, it's a process.
Hmm.
So I was lazy about it until I like absolutely had to start learning it.
Gotcha. What was that first song that you wrote that really you felt mixed the two languages really well together in a way you were, comfortable with?
Mm, I don't know, because like, before I had worked on the new song Solo Dimelo that just released yesterday,
Hmm.
or March 1st. Um I think that is by far the best one I've done, and that felt the most natural. Um but yeah, cuz it's funny. I mean, back when I was still working on Cambios, uh I was like pretty pleased with myself, but like now I like cringe a little when
Yeah.
when I hear it too. It's kind of like band, like I know just from listening to this podcast too that this has been a topic that's been brought up. Um Bands hating their early work.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that too, like listening to some of my Spanish and cambios. Uh, um, yeah, and also same for me for just the music itself too. Oh man, I do not like my first album, but I've thought about taking it down a few times, but just because it's like I kind of mentioned earlier in the podcast, like it really was just kind of a test. Like I was just
Mm.
kind of seeing what worked and what people reacted to as well too, or what felt the best as well. But no, I'll keep it up there. I keep
Mm.
telling myself like it's fun to see the growth as well too over the discography, to compare it to some of the songs on that
Yeah.
debut.
Yeah, even like I mean, it's a little different because like I'm a fan as opposed to the creator. It's like it's always interesting to hear people talk about that stuff because like I mean I don't create music. I mean I play in a band, so like I can say I create music now. But like
Mhm.
listening to early or reading early works I put together, you're just like, wow, people decided to consume this, and then but it's like
Yeah.
it's just a great like benchmark for where you started and where you came from.
Hmm.
Um, so you mentioned, the new single that was out as of March 1st, that's Solo Di Melo. So talk to me
Hmm.
about that single because it's mostly in Spanish. So from the few, words I could pick out, I don't speak Spanish. So I mean, I was just vibing, enjoying it, but a lot of the themes, are a little lost on me. So talk to me about that
Sure.
single and what that song is about and yeah.
So the phrase itself, "Solo dímelo," I mean, it's basically just saying, uh, just say it.
Mm,
Um, so the song itself is kind of now, like I mentioned, I'm in reunion with my biological family, just my maternal side, and um, it went really great. Um, Surprisingly lucky. A lot of those stories are sad. Mine is actually pretty wild. That could be like a whole other podcast about that. But but I had like an extremely like almost like Disney like version of how that all worked out for me. But with a few hiccups.
mm,
And I would say with my I have a strange complicated relationship with my biological mother, and she's actually like kind of estranged from like half of our family. So there's some weird bad blood with some of my biological siblings and her as well too. So that song was kind of just talking about that conflict with her, and there's some things, some decisions and choices she made that she just, I don't know, she can be a bit of a compulsive liar and stuff at times too. But thankfully she doesn't speak English, so she won't, so if she does hear this, she won't understand this. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's basically just about that. um there's some stuff, there's some family secrets that we kind of like all know that she
Mm.
knows, but just kind of refuses to just come out with it.
So
So that's kind of what that song is about.
so the just say it, that the title implies is you trying to wishing you could hear her
Yeah,
say that to you.
yeah, and a sibling or two as well, for being hyper specific about
Mhm.
what it's actually about. But yes, yeah, essentially that's it. It's kind of a plea
Yeah.
almost, I would say.
Do you any of your biological family members, do they listen to your music, or have you shared like these songs with, like, especially like something like Solo Di Mello with them?
Yeah, yeah. I actually like played. I remember I have a friend down there, a non-related friend in Bogota, um, that does help me out with some of the translation. Basically, like, I typically can get to the point like where I say what I need to say, but then the friend helps me out with like keeping it more loose and
Mhm.
informal, especially, and it helps me out on my slang and stuff like that too sometimes, because I do want it to sound Colombiano. Like, if someone, I mean, that'll be the goal eventually, is that
Yeah.
when Spanish speaking fans hear it, they're gonna say, "Oh, like, oh, that's a Colombiano, or that's a Bogotano right there." Like,
Mhm.
so I do get help with that from the friend. But yeah, they definitely listen. When we were talking about Jeremy earlier, and rest in power, Heavy Meadow. I
Mhm.
mean, Cambios was released under Heavy Meadow. So like when after the release, I usually, because I released that February 1st, 2019.
Mhm.
And I think pretty much like 4 days after that is when I did go to visit family again. So of course I brought a bag full of tapes for all the family to have as well too. They all like that. They're happy about that.
Nice.
No, they're fans.
Gotcha. I was wondering, with something like such a new and potentially fragile relationship, which is like reconnecting with a group like that, and then they hear a song almost like Solo Di Mello or something similar, if that had any sort of, you know not conflict, because I don't hope for that, but if
No.
if they took how they took that, or
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of just like vague and like
mm,
cool enough sounding too that, I mean, it could probably be interpreted anyway. And I think more than anything, they just kind of get a kick out of it
nice.
too.
Yeah. So with Solo Di Mello, you'll be putting out another single on the 15th, which potentially might
Yeah.
be out by then, depending on how this podcast lands, which is how much longer.
Right.
So what about that song that you wanted to pair it with Solo Di Mello? Especially when listening to it, it's and you giving me the context of that single. Like, this one
Hmm.
kind of has the longing side to the plea, when I
Yeah.
was putting that information in my brain.
Sure. Um, Pairing them on it, I mean, there's no special
Mm,
significance like with these two songs at all. It was more so just like, oh, this is like work that I find acceptable, that I
mm.
can be done with and
Yeah.
release, because it's been a while and I need to release something. I need to get to work. So that was kind of because like Solo Dimelo, I wrote that song probably 3 years ago.
Okay.
It's been through two or three different versions entirely, and it really wasn't until kind of the pandemic here that that was like my main goal. Like when I kind of realized, that, oh, we're gonna be inside for a while, like, then I
Hmm.
definitely need to get this song done because I like it. There's a good foundation, but I struggled for years working on that one. That was kind of a back burner song for a really long time. So I have listened to that song so many times, I can't tell you. So it's really, really nice to be done with it and working on new stuff now too. But yeah, that one took a while. And then it was when I got working on finishing that up was that creativity kind of hit again too. And I think I was also just at a point where it might have been around the time when like the election stuff really started to ramp up on the news,
Oh
like
yeah.
maybe not like the bad stuff, not like the insurrection or
No.
anything, but like, back in like the summer, I think when, campaigning and stuff like that was really still going on hard. Um yeah, and I was just really itching to work on new material
Mhm.
too. And I mean I think when everyone hears a song, I mean, the lyrics speak quite plainly, and speak for themselves, I think. Yeah, how much longer just came out of what I mean, so many BIPOC people have felt always.
Yeah.
And like especially in our city, which like began the uprising
Mhm.
that is gonna Pardue coming in here in like next week or so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, yeah.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so you said you'd been sitting on Solo Di Mello for a couple of years. Where was that like the
Mhm.
only song you're working on, or were you kind of post Cambios? Were you kind of sitting on just kind of taking a break from writing on music, or were you just kind of looking for that
It was
creative
Yeah,
spark?
it was really hard in the beginning of the pandemic because I mean, before the pandemic hit, I mean, we were playing quite
Hmm.
regularly. Um and I mean, that was going to be the plan. I mean, I had quite a few shows booked that had to get canceled. So I mean, that was really the goal at that point. And like I think I knew that, not knowing that we were going to be in a global pandemic, I was like, yeah, I would definitely want to keep playing as much as we can and then get a single or two or something released, just to help fortify the
Hmm.
set list. While hopefully I can get some time to work on, like an actual EP or LP again. But no, then the pandemic hit and that all changed, of course.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so in the beginning, it was just really, really hard. I was in a huge creative and writing rut for
Okay.
pretty much most of the pandemic, other than finishing Solo di Melo, and
Yeah.
then, how much longer, it was kinda like the light switch just, like, hit right after I got done with those 2 and just like, I got nothing now.
Mm.
Um, but that changed, like, huge in just, like, the last 3 weeks. The light switch hit again in the opposite direction now, so, it's really good to be done with these because 'cause I'm working on a ton of new stuff, and I mean, I always am working on stuff, but,
Yeah.
like, all of that, like, aside from these 2 singles was just like, they'll probably never see the light of day, but that's how it goes.
Tis the plight of the creator. Um,
Mhm.
so you recorded all of this stuff. You've been recording all of this stuff at home, all of like Simply Smelkin and Cambios. So is that so you play everything on all of these songs then, or do you work with the live band?
No, no, they act purely as a backing band, when we
Okay.
do play out live, and that was the other thing too with, like, that I made very clear from the start when trying to round up a band, with the Craigslist ad, I was like, "You will have no creative input here."
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
I am your god now. If that is okay with you, then come on, hop on board. Um, but no, I mean, I'm not crazy, like, I'm not some tyrant, like, "You
Mm.
have to play it exactly the way I did it," at all. No, if anything, I miss that about playing with the band live is because, I especially now that we've been playing together for a while and I kind of I know everyone's strengths and stuff
Hmm.
too. So I mean I definitely encourage to improvise or make better if they can when playing live. But yeah, as far as the actual releases that you listen to go, all of that is me.
Hmm.
Except the drums. I do program the drums. I do play though. I try and make a point to program parts that I know I can play. There's definitely probably a fill or two that I probably can't play, but I would say like 85% of the drumming you hear, oh yeah,
And
I could do that.
gotcha. Well, moving on down the list here, something that, well, one, you that'll be coming out on the 4th, which is you did a feature on Voices in the Back, which,
Yes.
for people not familiar, which I wasn't quite familiar with it until you brought it up, and then they have one episode out as of recording this, and you'll be doing one that'll be on the 4th of March. Talk to me about Voices in the Back and what your feature on that is.
So that's a really exciting project. This was put up by the Minnesota Musician Coalition, the MMC. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but really great nonprofit, been around for a while. And they put together this video series called Voices in the Back. Excuse me. So it's headed by the two fine folks, Anastasia Ellis, and maybe you're familiar with Alexi Moon Cassell, also known as Crescent Moon. So those two are kind of the head showrunners of the whole thing. And yeah, basically it's going to be an episodic feature for local BIPOC artists. They did debut their first episode last week from the record here today with Carnage the Executioner. I believe after my episode, we're going to see Taylor Seberg. I think Chris Parker is one of the other artists. And then I think kind of the season 1 capstone episode is going to be Sophia Aris. And then I know that there are other artists too. I don't know how they're going to do, if they are doing like seasons. I can't remember. But I do also volunteer for them as well too. So I have been helping out behind the scenes as well. In addition to, I kind of just like shot my shot with them.
Yeah.
Because originally I hopped on as a volunteer.
Yeah.
And I was just like, just out of curiosity, like, who's on the roster so far? Are you looking for anyone? Like, look over here. Yeah, it ended up working out, which was cool and really nice. But yeah, I've also been volunteering with them. There's kind of a small team of us as well, of other BIPOC folks in the city that helping out with like the social media management. I'm kind of helping out with the audio work as well. If you like listen to the teaser video that they had, or I mean, if you watch any of the episodes, if there's like background filler music, that was stuff I did. And then, I mean, they are using this. So basically, I mean, it's a video conversations and performances highlighting BIPOC folks in the Twin Cities music scene, but it's also, they're hoping to kind of make it this multimedia platform thing. Like we're looking to probably get a podcast going. Now, all the episodes will be archived via podcast. You can actually, it is live right now as we speak on Spotify. Like episode 1 is already archived via podcast. But I mean, we're looking to do just like a regular, podcast like this as well too, talking, maybe kind of like the extra behind the scenes to an artist episode. But I know that we're also open to having maybe folks who maybe like activists or educators, stuff like that. Anything that really falls in the realm of race and identity, and especially just the BIPOC community at large in the Twin Cities here too, and other creatives too, not just musicians as well. I think visual artists and stuff like that are definitely on their radar as well. But yeah, I mean, it's really early with all this, so hopefully that I don't have any sort of dates or anything like that when like a podcast or any other sort of entity or wing of Voices in the Back that it may take on. But I would just say go to their website. All social media handles should just be Voices in the Back, or maybe VITB. But yeah, I mean, we've got the website up, all the social medias, so just keep your eye on that. I mean, because there's again, like the roster is stacked. Like I feel like the most imposter syndromed, like out of
Yeah.
like the lineup of like the season 1 people. Because like I shot my episode with Carnage and Sophia at Hook and Ladder, and so yeah, that was like, I was like, God damn it, like I gotta follow one of these fuckers.
You're just like, yeah.
Yeah, so it was really awesome. It was great.
Mhm.
They're all so extremely talented, and it was unfortunate because like the pandemic I was gonna help out on the second shoot with like the 4 other artists that are gonna probably be kind of part of season 2 or
Mhm.
whatever. But that was like, I think when the governor had to reinstate a lot of restrictions on stuff, like because that was in like January, December when they did that
Oh,
again, I
oh,
think
the
around the holiday.
mhm.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to join and help out on that shoot, which was unfortunate, but they still got it done, and lots of cool stuff to come from that. So yeah, definitely keep your eyes peeled on that and ear the ground, and hopefully maybe maybe a podcast as well too, and some other stuff.
Yeah. Well, I just got a couple more questions for you this evening. So this one's a tough one just because it's the pandemic, but do you have any plans coming up in 2021? What can people expect from Smellkin Ernesto this year? I mean, obviously you got the single coming out on the 15th and you got the Voices in the Back episode, but do you have any other plans for, I don't know, streams or something like that, or just kind of taking it where it as it goes?
Texas and Florida tour. No, I don't have any plans, but my schedule right now is quite open. So yeah, I don't know what it is, like what changed for me, but like something happened to me lately. It was kind of like a light switch again, and I've been really, really, really excited about working on music again, and have been doing it quite a bit.
Mhm.
I'm really looking to step into a new chapter. That's like kind of the other reason why I'm so excited to get this is like horrible. This is like really awful marketing for me, where I'm just like, yeah, like I have these new things coming out, but like honestly, I don't really.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something really excited about his work. No, I am. I'm thrilled and ecstatic about the work, but I'm also really thrilled and ecstatic to turn a new page. And yeah, I'm trying to go a little more hi-fi this time
Ooh.
around too. So yeah, I think I can safely say you will hear more music from me before the end of 2021 for sure. Whether it's one song or hopefully an album of some sorts. I don't know. I don't have any dates, but
Yeah.
baby boy is cooking right now. So.
Awesome. Well, it's good that you got your time, your much needed time off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
Like you said earlier. But where can people connect with you online and hear your music?
The fantastic thing about my name, my persona, my music project name is that it's no one ever will claim that territory or that property of the internet. I don't think. So pretty much anything is just going to be Smellkin Ernesto, and that's the word smell and the word kin together, and then Ernesto.
Okay.
So Instagram is just at Smellkin Ernesto. I have a Twitter, but I don't use it at all. I just use it so I can look at trending topics, keep my pulse on society. And then I think I have a YouTube channel. Pretty sure. Yeah, of course I do. I have like a bunch of music videos. So there's that. Whoops, sorry, directors who did all that. And Facebook.com/Smellkin Ernesto, www.smellkinernesto.com, baby.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me here this evening, Eric.
Yeah, it's been fun. Appreciate it.
The Ear Coffee Podcast is a companion to the blog of the same name. If you like this episode, please leave us a rate and review so we can stand out among the other music podcasts. You can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @EarCoffee. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.